Two guys, one bench.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Two Guys, One Bench, where we talk more shit than the shit involved in Two Girls, One Cup. I'm Russell Peel.
And I'm Dorrell Petties.
And let's get this party started right. One of our sponsors, Ward Smelling Salts, has sent me this special concoction where I've got 2 bottles loaded into this canister. Lifelong warranty, by the way. So we're going to give a little snort. It's getting a little late out here in Calgary, Alberta. Time to kick it off. Oh, shit. Give that a toot. Oh, man. Wow.
Oh, fuck.
So.
All right, let's get it popping.
So, if you really want to get your lifts going, check these guys out. Get one of these canisters. It doesn't leak in your bag. It's set for a lifetime warranty, so you can't go wrong.
All right, so to kick it off, I want to get into a little bit of strength sport news, but as there's no meets going on currently, we kind of want to talk a little bit more about strength sports and things people may not know when they get into it, or things that may be overlooked a little bit in the sport. So, Russ, I'll let you start off.
Well, what we're going to start off with is basically what happens to all of us that are in the game, whether it be any kind of sport, injuries. So, unfortunately, Dorrell, he's been pushing his limits for the last month or so. Hit a 1,009-pound trap bar deadlift about 2 weeks ago. And just as he was doing his volume work, which is very easy, it's nothing for him. Was it like 400 and something pounds?
440.
440. Well, I'll let you take over.
So, like Russ said, I've been going pretty hard. Didn't have a meet to go to, so we ran a mock meet about a month ago. And after that, just kind of messed around with lifts, being a bit of a idiot maybe, and maxing out a little bit too much. But I was just having fun with variations. Used the trap bar, hadn't used one in about 8 years, so decided, let's see if I can do 1,000 pounds. I hit that goal and hit 1,009, felt fine. No problem at all. Squatting had been feeling great, bench has been feeling great, and then get into my first workout of volume, warming up, feel all right. Set 1 feels good, set 2 feels good, set 3, I finish it off and feel something shoot from my back to my ankle, and at the end of it, can't weight bear at all on my right leg, and my entire leg goes numb. So it kind of just brings to mind, it doesn't matter who you are, what level you are, something we're all going to have to deal with is injuries. And really what makes you a better lifter isn't so much that you never get them, because if you do this long enough, like you know, you're going to get injured in any sport, at any level. You do it long enough, you're going to get an injury. So the goal is see how you deal with that injury and work around it, and how do we work to make sure that never happens again. And one thing you said to me, Russ, was how you find it makes you a better trainer, because then you can, when you get a client with a similar injury, you can show them techniques that may have worked for you, that might work for them. But the biggest thing is, when you get injured, I find you just can't get negative about it. You just have to accept it for what it is. If you have to take a little bit of time off, so be it. But this happens to everyone. The world isn't coming crashing down. You can still lift. You just have to take some time off and fix some things.
Exactly, and I think, I look back throughout my youth, Dorrell and I both have blown out our ACLs. You did it once or twice?
I did my ACL once, then I went in 2 more times after that for meniscus.
Nice, yeah. So I blew mine out when I was roughly 19 years old, also playing basketball. Went up to grab a rebound, landed on some guy's shoe, snappity snap. Back then, didn't know what ACLs were. I just thought, hey, ice it up, rest it up, and it'll repair itself. A few weeks later, I'm out playing drunk slow pitch with some buddies, and swing the bat hard, and boom, I feel a full pop, complete tear. This is 19 years old. And what I found was back then, they asked me, are you continuing sports? Will you play sports? I'm like, well, I'm 19, I don't know. And they recommended me not to get the reconstructive surgery, which is astounding. I think it was more of a money-saving thing. We're in Canada where we have free healthcare. Surgery like that probably costs the government, 30 to 40 grand. So I was convinced not to do it. I really regret that, but I've still, to this point, I fought at a professional level without an ACL. You learn to get through it. You learn to push through the pain. You learn how to figure out how to strengthen everything else around that injury to a point where it doesn't hurt anymore. I mean, sure, I had, wrestling and doing judo. I've had it pop out a few times. It's actually one of the reasons why I retired from fighting. I mean, I can't handle, my brain wants to go, full on, but my body just can't handle that anymore. And I realized that, especially with, MMA.
Yeah.
However, a sport like powerlifting, where we're doing just basically compound movements, where our feet are mostly fixed to the ground, there's no twisting. It's pretty hard to blow out those kind of ligaments.
Yeah, I found for myself, people always ask me who know anything about my athletic history, like, how's that on your knees? How's powerlifting been on your knees? My knees are fine. My knees feel great. All before powerlifting, I was actually tonight at dinner listing off my injuries to someone because they asked, like, oh, have you ever been injured? Yeah, I've torn my quad, I've torn my hamstring, both ankles, torn my knee, done that 3 times, but that was all before powerlifting, and now with powerlifting, everything is more so overuse injuries that once you find out what it is.
It's more of a muscle injury.
Yeah.
You pull a muscle.
So once I tweaked what I thought was my back at first from my QL, I went and got treatment, and I think it's piriformis most likely, and got some exercises and some rehab stuff I need to do, and life goes on. It sucks. Obviously, I would like to be full strength right now, but there's no point pushing through certain things if it's just going to make you worse.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said to you, every injury I've had has been a learning curve. And as a trainer, now I'm able to help people get out of their slump. A lot of people get an injury, for example, an ACL, and that's it. They're done. And you often hear in the gym, like, you ask a guy, okay, you bench press, I've seen you deadlift, why don't you squat?
Oh, I got bad knees.
Got bad knees.
I got bad knees, I can't squat.
Fuckity boo. I can't squat, so I just hit the Smith machine and leg press. By the way, I can leg press 12 thighs a side. Who gives a fuck about your leg press, by the way? Anyways, I just want to say that you can get over these injuries. There is a roadmap, and often doctors will tell you to stop what you're doing for 2-3 months. For guys like Dorrell and I, that's not a fucking option. So you're going to learn how to rehab yourself, attach yourself to therapists and massage therapists and sports therapists and athletic therapists and whatever the fucking therapist.
You're going to have to pretty much exhaust every option there is, and you're going to learn more by doing things this way than if you just took the time off and did absolutely nothing. Because sure, taking the time off, and I'm just speaking for minor injuries, obviously you completely blow something out, take some time off. But for these minor ones, doing something, if it's not aggravating it, is better than doing nothing at all and letting the muscles atrophy, and then you come back worse than before with major imbalances because you wanted to nurse an injury. One thing I hear all the time is deadlifting, oh, my back is sore. Well, let's find out why your back is sore. Is your back sore just because of deadlifts? Because if that was the case, every person that did them would have a crippled back after. They don't. The reason why is because you're not using your glutes. So let's address your form and your warm up and get things activating before you do it, instead of just eliminating deadlifts out of your workout because your back gets sore.
Yeah, 100%. And bottom line is, you get an injury, you don't give up. You figure a way out to get it better. Align yourself with people that actually train, lift weights, not some fat bald doctor that has an Oxycontin habit. We don't, and if they're prescribing you pills and tramadols and all these other dolls and you're so full of T4s and Oxycontins and Percocets, and what the fuck is the point? Deal with the pain. Pain is good. I'm a big fan of pain. I think I got a problem, but something about getting punched in the face and squatting 600 pounds reps, that's not easy. And Dorrell, I've seen him blow out his back this week. He's really kind of down on himself, but 2 weeks ago he pulled 1,009 on a trap bar. So with victory comes a little defeat, but we're going to be back, and he'll be back stronger within a month or so, maybe even 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's all about keeping things in perspective. So anyone out there get any kind of injury, just know that it's very normal. Everything isn't all negative. You can take positives out of it. Any injury I've gotten, all it helps me do is learn a better way to warm up to avoid these and become more efficient down the road, so that you move more efficiently, so that your squat or deadlift or bench gets better, so that you're not aggravating things. Or it shows you where you need to build up at maybe weak links in your body so that these breakdowns don't happen.
100%. So yeah, moral of the story, gonna happen, deal with it, move on, get stronger. All right, so we're gonna go on to our next segment. We're gonna make this a weekly thing just because, what's going on in the world with the COVID and lack of events. Everything was canceled. We missed Worlds this year. We were gonna go smash some guys in America and lift with a bunch of people we know. It's a great sport, and that was all canceled out. And we have been training hard. We both we did a mock meet not too long ago, August 15th. It was a pretty awesome day, but that was just with the team. Nothing's on the record books. So with that being said, kind of the exciting thing right now we can do with strongman and to do with power is watching this boxing match that's coming along between Thor and Eddie. And so we're going to break down a few things we saw this week. Luckily, they give us weekly material to watch. And I'd really like to thank Eddie Hall for putting out so much material. I was going to say it's almost a hindrance to him, showing how much he's doing and how badly he's doing it, in my opinion. When I see just some of the things he's doing, number one, I want to say he's training hard, and that's awesome. He's putting in all the hours that you need. He's working on stuff. He says he can run a 7-minute mile
at 370 pounds.
Hard to believe. I can't even run a 7-minute 100-meter right now, and I weigh the same. But I just want to say he's definitely looks like he's working hard. He does have his, what would we call that guy?
7-foot fuck buddy.
I don't even know if he's 7 foot, but definitely.
Nah, he's a big guy. He's not 7 foot, but he's there to mimic Thor. And if only reason you're there is because you're tall, why the hell are you there?
Basically a 6'7" giant fleshlight that Eddie likes to fuck in and outside his house. But anyways, it is smart to have a guy to emulate. But one thing I'm finding is, he's doing a lot of pad work. He's the guy's throwing punches that he wants to see, but what's not happening is he's not learning the basics. You got to learn the basics before you jump in and start doing the Philly shell, trying to emulate Roy Jones Jr. I don't know what he's doing. He's trying to be Mayweather. Like I said in the last podcast, his hands are down. If you go and watch the video, he's doing all this shit with his hands at his frumper. I mean, you're going to protect your belly button? Is that the source of your power? No, your chin is going to get cracked. So I highly recommend learning the basics, keeping the hands up, try not to do fancy shit. That is 100% any coach would tell you. And I don't know what this 3-foot-tall Irishman guy is blowing smoke up his ass, but he needs someone to actually come in there and get sparring partners for him and get him used to getting hit and uncomfortable and not being the toughest guy in the room.
Yeah, it seems like for the most part, I was hard on him last week. Still gonna be hard on him this week, but difference is I can say that in what I've seen from one week to another, there is improvement. He is working harder. He does look a little bit better, but at the same time, I'm just picking out small things from the video, like him saying that this is my first time seeing my coach in a while, and then having your so-called coach say, oh, when I saw him last before lockdown, it's like, well, that was about 3 or 4 months. If you're going 4 months without seeing your boxing coach in a brand new sport, there's only so much you can do at home. Doesn't matter what sport you do. There's only, if you're picking up basketball and I teach you how to dribble, I can't give you drills and say in 4 months, well, why aren't you a starting point guard now? It's a little ridiculous and careless, but I can see he is trying to get better. But like Russ mentioned, his hands are at his waist all the damn time, and that's beginner shit. When you're matched up against a guy who's 6'8", 6'9", and a bigger man who seems to keep his hands up, and that's a big thing with his training with Thor. It just doesn't seem like you're being led down the right path. You're being taught to just throw everything you can into these punches. I get it. You're a strong man. You hit hard. But what happens when you gas out and your hands are down and that monster is throwing everything at you?
He's got a little bit of, Thor's got a touch of the itis. He's a little bit special, it seems like. I think he's got a bad temper, and definitely think he's the type of guy that remembers the shit talking, doesn't talk back too much shit, and just remembers. And he's going to go like full Viking mode on him. Hopefully eats a handful of psilocybin mushrooms like the Vikings used to right before the fight and just goes fucking berserker on him.
Yeah, I'm excited for it because I realize we're only a couple months in, but I feel like that'll be in a year's time from now, considering all the progress I'm seeing from Thor and Eddie. I do think Eddie can get better, and he will get better because he's an athlete, if we can call him that, because he doesn't really move like one. But Thor is naturally
beach walrus is what we describe him as.
Neat. When I just look at their sports background, had this talk with someone in the gym. They said, well, neither of their sports backgrounds are from combat sport. True, but would you rather trust Eddie Hall, who's never had to learn footwork for swimming, and all his stuff is in water, or a guy who was a national level basketball player who actually had to be agile and quick on his feet?
Yeah.
I'm going to trust the guy with footwork.
Well, credit to Eddie, the national level of Iceland is about a population of 100,000, so.
Oh, for Thor, yeah.
Thor, sorry about that. But anyways, what I'd like to see from both of these guys is, a little more strength conditioning in an athletic way. If you watch people or fighters that are in the UFC, they're doing way more kind of high rep explosive things, more plyometrics. I'd like to see both of them hitting a ladder and doing lots of speed ladder drills. That's all footwork, doing some icky shuffles, moving in and out while doing punches. A lot of ways to elude your opponent is learning how to use your feet. And I see Eddie kind of doing that, and he's going to need to because he's the smaller man. Thor just needs to learn how to move, back and forth and shuffle right and left, stay away and use his jab. And then I would say, the jab is the radar and right straight is the bazooka. So if you can start timing that, see that that's working, and then look for that hole. Of course, Thor is a southpaw, so that's the opposite. He'll be a right jabber, but bazooka shot is your strong arm, and I believe, it won't take many hits for Thor to put anybody down. And if Eddie clips him with one of those wild punches, it's the same thing. But that's enough of that shit. I mean, it's exciting to see, and I think it brings a world attention to these guys in the sport of strongman, powerlifting. And I hate to say it, but people love freak shows. When I was in Japan, it was Bob Sapp beating down these giant Brazilian guys that were 7 feet tall, and eventually he got beat down a lot, but at the epiphany of his career, it was something special.
Yeah, now you got celebrities calling each other out because even though they're not skilled, people want to see random people fight.
Oh yeah, for sure. And speaking of heavyweights, we're going to transcend into some combat sports. We were just watching the last UFC event that was in Vegas. It was on Fox, I believe, or ESPN.
Yeah.
And it, for me, it hit home. But I just want to say, we were talking on heavyweights. Some of the heavyweights in the UFC these days look terrible. I mean, we were looking at two guys.
They look like they frequently IHOP quite often.
Yeah, it's like gone are the days of Cock Chestnut and
Shane Carwin,
Juice to the Gills Carwin and Uber Reams.
Ream.
Yeah, there's no more chiseled bodies, and I mean that's great. That kind of means that probably there's more testing and less steroids in the sport, but you're seeing guys look deflated, and it's kind of a division where even guys like Overeem still can win a belt because it's so light. Like there's not too many giant dudes. So that was, there was a fight there. Actually, one of the guys I know, I've seen him fight a couple times in Japan. Rocky Martinez, tough guy, an islander from Guam, against the big guy from some sort of Eastern European country who laid the smackdown. So that was cool. Biggest moment for me and the biggest moment of that card, in my opinion, was the win from Kevin Crew. Now, a little backstory. I was living in Japan in 2009. I had been there since 2002. At the time, I was training with my sensei, Ryuta Sakurai, former deep middleweight champion. He fought in Pride FC, still fighting at 49 years old, one of the toughest bastards out there. And I took him out there to Jackson's MMA in Albuquerque, 2009. And flying there, we did a layover in Hawaii, and then we flew to Albuquerque. And I'm thinking, what am I getting myself into? We're going to this gym in the desert. We got Keith Jardine, Rashad Evans, all these killers. How are they gonna, what are they gonna do when we show up? I thought, a lot of times in Japan, you show up and the first thing they do is beat the shit out of you, and then you're part of the team. But luckily, it was an amazing environment. I've never seen anything like it at that time, and I've heard that was kind of around the peak. Guess who was there just as we got there the day before? The young John Jones. He just flew in, I believe, from New York. He was there with his family, decided to start making his camp there. And I trained a bunch of younger guys as well, and one of them was Kevin Crew. And I just remember him, he was sparring with another kid, Josh Labiz, who fought in Bellator further down the road. And these two kids were just swinging for the fences, and they looked skilled, but just wild. And they were willing to take a hit and just throw it out. And I thought to myself, these two are going somewhere. I just could tell. And at the time, Kevin was 21. And, I back to Japan. I lived there until about 2013, my bad. And I followed him through the years. He tried professional boxing. He tried, hitting Bellator a few times and all these other. He flew out to Dagestan and got almost screwed of getting a belt, but I think he got the belt. So he's been through the grinder with MMA. He's one of those guys that never quit. So fast forward 11 years later from when I met him, he gets a call last minute from, he won a belt in a smaller organization recently. Gets a call last minute. One of the guy's opponents pulled out. He was an up-and-coming guy from the Contender Series, very popular. He had been 3-fight win streak. One day before, get your ass to Vegas, and you're fighting a weight class up at 155 from 145. Well, Kevin shows up, and he's a gamer, and he's a crowd pleaser as well. In the weigh-ins, he shows up, mean mungs the guy, and then gets his little butterfly switchblade-looking comb, and starts combing his hair, I just knew that with his experience, this young guy might be in trouble. Sure enough, within the first 30 seconds, you were talking about Bisping talking.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny. one of the reasons, obviously, I watched it was because of you, and you told me your backstory with him.
Yeah.
But it was funny as they were walking in, when you don't know them, they want to give you a backstory, and the color commentary wants to build up who's the underdog and who's the favorite.
Yeah.
And Bisping was commentating and saying how confident Roosevelt Roberts was, and because he was the favorite in the fight, as he should be. You'd already been training for this. You're fighting a guy who's having to move up to fight you, and it was the perfect timing of it. Bisping says on the commentary that Roosevelt sent him a text saying, "I hope you're prepared for when I knock this guy out." As soon as that sentence left Bisping's mouth, Kroom drops him with a left, and the fight is over probably 6 seconds after that.
Yeah, once drops him to the left. Kevin, I know I followed him over the years. He's really heavily into jiu-jitsu now. I think he has a brown belt and could be a black belt at any time soon. Grabs onto his neck, and these guys are actually in shape. I can't because I got these giant pipes, but locks up a guillotine choke where he's actually a modified version where he's able to really get in there. And it was amazing. He was wrapped in tight. The guy had nowhere to go and had to tap.
Yeah.
And that was like Dana White was talking about in the post fight press conference, automatic performance bonus. So he had about $100 in his account. He said the day before, going from paycheck to paycheck. Boom, he's got 50 grand plus probably fight and win monies around probably 8. So
10 just to show up.
10 to show up, and then 10 to win. So he's looking at like 70 grand and probably a new contract with the UFC. Dana White says he loves guys that show up and like to fight. So, I mean, talk about changing your life in one day. That's all it takes. And we saw that earlier in this year. I don't know if you watched the card. I believe it was in Vancouver, but a Canadian guy got called up to fight a really up-and-coming Brazilian guy. Forget his name, but he's the guy that does all that bullshit capoeira, dancing around. And this kid from Vancouver is like, "You're not fucking pulling that shit on me," and just beat the brakes off this guy, give him a beat down, and he was called up the day before too. So, when it's time to shine, you better shine because you might not get another chance. And I think the moral of that story is that, you get a chance in life, take it.
Make the most out of every opportunity because you don't know where it's going to lead, regardless if you can do it or not. If you got to have faith in yourself, nothing you do that's going to turn out for the better is going to be comfortable all the time. Obviously, Kroom could have easily said, "I can't make that weight," or "That's too big of a jump." No, even if he knows that, he can just say, "Yeah, I'll do it," and he's going to find a way to make it happen. And that can apply to you in everyday life, in your sport, whatever it is. There's no such thing as saying, "No, I can't do that," but you can say, "I can't do that yet," but you find a way how you're going to get it done.
Yeah, and one thing I'd also like to say is like he's been grinding for more than 13 years, 21, and he's 33 now. I mean, how many people are willing to put up with that? Just going paycheck to paycheck, getting fights here and there.
13 years for your big break.
Glory. And I also want to say another great fight was the Michelle Watterson and
Angela Hill
main
event.
And believe it or not, at the same time when I was in Albuquerque, Michelle was there. She was just starting out as well. That was before there was actually a female division in the UFC. So I think they were fighting in Invicta at the time.
Yeah, because that's where she had her belt.
But yeah, she became a champion there. So she's put in the long grind. Has a family now, but she's had a few title fights, I believe, 1 or 2. Couldn't bring home the gold, but in this fight, she
definitely put herself in position to be a top contender again.
Yeah, and like I've heard, it could have gone either way. Towards the end, it was all about who kind of finished strong. So Yeah, I think for me, it's a testament of just sticking with, as a martial artist, as a powerlifter, as any kind of sportsman, sportswoman, you can't give up. The only way to really become an expert at something is putting in the time, and often that could take 10 years easily, right?
Yeah, if not more.
Yeah, for sure. So don't look at what I say to people when it comes to martial arts. You can't look at it as, when can I get my black belt? It's going to be in 4 years, 5 years, and then what? So, I say you have to make a lifelong commitment, and you're going to do it until you die. And maybe your body might not be able to do it anymore like at the level you want. Well, then it's your turn to teach. Then it's your turn to coach. It's your turn to pass it on to the youth generation. Next generation. Know when your time's done, but at the same time, be willing to pass on that info. And that's the beauty of martial arts, in my opinion, and just the spiritual side. Living in Japan for 11 years, and that traditional, there's almost a spiritual element attached to everything we do. We bow, we have respect to our sensei. It's just something that gives you enough ammunition and knowledge for the rest of your life, and kind of a scaffolding for you to live by. So I highly recommend you jump into some sort of martial art, and something very similar is powerlifting and strength training, because there are no shortcuts. You can't jump in and be able to pull 700, 800 pounds in your first year. You have to 2 for Dorrell, but he's a bit of a freak.
Yeah, but there's, even now you're saying jumping into something and doing it right off the bat. With everything, everybody progresses differently, and they're also going to hit a different peak. So my biggest advice is don't measure yourself by other people's progress, because you're not other people. You have different genetics in every person. You have different circumstances in your life, whatever it may be. You're on a different path than someone else. So you can't gauge your success or progress next to someone else. Because for me, I got into powerlifting at 28. A lot of these people we see on Instagram, these big elite lifters, they're 26, 25 years old, but they've been doing it for 7 years sometimes. There's guys who've been doing it 8 years who are a little bit older than me. Difference is, I don't compare myself to where they are, because I haven't been doing it nearly as long. I know if you give me 8 years, if I can accomplish what I have in under 2.5 years, give me 8, and then we'll talk about comparisons. Not everyone peaks the same. You see it in every sport. You see it in basketball. There's phenoms in 7th grade who you don't know their name by the time they hit 12th grade. There's these studs in college football who fizzle out or don't get drafted to the NFL, because everyone peaks different. It's about, are you willing to stay on the path and keep progressing, even no matter how slow it is. Slow progress is better than no progress.
100%. And you should always be willing to just push your limit every workout. And part of being a long-term athlete is also working on your recovery. So, you can have these crazy workouts, but what are you doing after? So I highly suggest you really look in some warm-ups at work. I know Dorrell is pretty diligent about warm-ups, except for that day where he blew his back out. Yep. So I can always go back to the time I got injured and go, okay, I didn't do that right. And most of the times, it was always that I jumped into practice without warming up. When I blew out my knee, did I warm up at all? No, I just jumped into a game. When I've injured it and doing MMA and grappling, I just get into the gym, everybody's grappling already. Okay, jump in, no warm up, boom. So it's happened when I haven't warmed up. So make sure you have a good routine warming up. And I also highly suggest getting some massage therapists and people on board. I know Dorrell has a sponsor with...
sponsored by Dynamic YYC. They're a clinic here in Calgary. They got a few stores. or shops, I should say. I'm not sure how that works, but
clinics probably.
yeah, there we go, clinics.
And shops would be a little bit of a different massage.
Yeah,
But,
they got a few clinics and they work out of gyms. One of the reasons why, even though it's not just their client base that's out of there, they're all actual lifters and know the demands we put on our bodies. So it makes a complete difference when you're getting worked on you by someone who actually knows what you need to be able to do and what kind of mobility you need and what kind of strength restrictions you may have in certain ranges of motion and how to best develop you. Because I'd been to massage therapists before and chiros it just seemed to be like a quick band-aid, really. Make you feel better for 15 minutes. By the end of the night, you're like, well, I'm still sore and I'm still hurting and I'm no further along knowing how to recover. But ever since I got together with Dynamic, my recovery's been great, and I put my tweak last week 100% on me. I got to the gym a little later than I expected. I was thinking, well, this is the lightest deadlift I've pulled in probably 3 months, so I can just warm up with more reps instead of going through my full warm-up, and I ended up paying for it.
Yeah, and that's often the time is when we don't expect it. So always expect the unexpected and always kind of be ready. So that's why I highly suggest having a good warm-up scheme and also having a good team behind you. Get a massage every month or so, and then learn how to do it yourself. Get a lacrosse ball, get a roller, I got so many goddamn massage devices that I feel like a tug shop in here. But what I do have is a good equipment that'll help me recover and be able to train the next day. So that's vital. All right, well, I think that's roughly as much time as we got, brother.
Yeah.
So make sure to actually subscribe to our channel here, Techie Strong, under the Techie Strong channel. And also, you can hit the notification button if you want to get updates to when these podcasts actually come out. And then come check us out. I'm at the Canadian Grizzly on Instagram.
You can get me at Instagram on @dpetties or on my team page that I'm the coach of @Generation Strength. Either way, I'll respond on either account.
Yeah, reach out to us. Send us a DM. Leave a comment in our channel here. We'd love to answer some questions that you have. Also, if you're looking for some help with your training, you need someone to push you.
Yeah.
Dorrell and I both do online training, and we're both coach. We know how to get you to where you want to be. Not only in not just powerlifting, but we've been trainers and athletes all our life, so we can get you in your top performance level. And so, I'm branching off to even some mindset stuff, some mindset life coaching. Maybe you just need to get your head in the game, and we know that's half the battle most of the time. So reach out to us. We're here. We're going to get back to you. We're not going to ignore your texts. We're not going to ignore your messages. So give us a shout and tell a friend about our podcast. We're ready to explode. See, just remember to eat big,
Train hard.
and always be fight ready.
2 guys, 1 bench. Techie Strong Mindset with host Russell Peel. Home Gyms YYC.